Alright, I have a 2009 Nissan Murano here, and when I was doing the oil change, I noticed that the rear sway bar was broken, so today we're going to try and replace that. So to get access to the sway bar, we're going to want to remove the tire here. So I'm just going to remove the lug nuts, jack it up, and take this tire off. Okay, so to get at the rear stabilizer links, what we're going to do is remove these lug nuts here. And one of them is keyed, so we're going to need the key. So set that in place, and then we'll use a wrench to pull those out. Alright, so the rear tire has been removed, and I am doing this work in my home garage, and I do not have a lift. So anytime that you're working under the car, for safety, I highly recommend putting the car down on a jack stand. That way we don't have to worry about the jack slipping out while we're working under the car. Okay, so now that the tire's removed, we can go back into here and see that our sway bar is indeed broken off. So the next step is to remove this bolt here and then the one up top there. Alright, those nuts are rusted on there pretty good, so I'm just going to give them a shot of WD-40, help loosen them up. Alright, so I got my torque wrench on here, and the problem I have now is that the other end is spinning. So it's so rusted on that what we're going to have to do is probably put some vice grips on the other side so that we can hold it in place and get this bolt off. Alright, so it's not coming off as easy as I was hoping. I think vice grips are slipping as well. So what I'm going to do is just take a hacksaw and get in between there. I got enough separation now that I can get a hacksaw blade in there and just remove the bolt this way. Now for this top one, it's a little trickier to get at it. So I had to use a little socket extender for my torque wrench, and should be able to start twisting that off and see what happens. Alright, we had the same problem on the top one where the back was slipping out, so I just put a vice grip in place to hold it so that it doesn't move, and we were able to take that one off. Okay, so we have our new stabilizer link here. Looks like it's in a bit better shape than the old one, so we're gonna put that in place. Okay, so I'm gonna slide it in first to the top and then secure it. Alright, so we have our stabilizer link in place, so I'm just gonna tighten it up now. I'm using a 15mm wrench, and I have to use a Allen key here to secure the lock nut while it turns. Alright, so we have our stabilizer link secured on the top and the bottom, so we are ready to put our wheel back on. Okay, so we got the lug nuts kind of in place before we put the car down, and I just want to make sure that we tighten the lug nuts in a crossing pattern. So we're just going to go across, and then we'll go across again, just like that, and then we can lower the car and tighten them up again. Okay, so since the rear stabilizers were in such bad shape, I decided that I'm going to go and also replace the front stabilizers. So you can see the sway bar here, and then we have to remove this nut at the back here, and this one at the top right there. So I'm just going to remove those two next. So one thing I noticed is that these ones are much easier to access. There's lots more room to work on the front here. But I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 just around these nuts here to see if I can back them out without having to cut them out. Okay, so we were able to get the bottom one removed, and now I'm just working on the top. So there's a little bolt on the very back here. It's 18mm, and I'm just using a crescent wrench to 18mm crescent wrench to hold that in place, while I use my torque wrench on the other side to loosen it up. Okay, we have the old stab link out, and the new one is right here, and it looks like it's the exact same size, so we're ready to put it in. So one thing I wanted to mention is that there was a lot of tension on the sway bar when I only had the one side jacked up. So it's pretty important that you actually have both ends lifted and put on jack stands so that there's no tension on this sway bar. Okay, so basically what we can do here is just thread our sway bar through the top hole here, and then we'll do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, and then we can start tightening those up. Alright, so once again I'm just using my Allen key in that lock nut there just to keep it from slipping, and then we'll tighten this guy in the top. Okay, so the front stabilizer is now secure and in place. I ended up tightening it to 58 foot-pounds with my torque wrench as per the specs. I ended up doing all four, the front and the rear, just because they were all pretty rusted and worn out. And when I was driving, I actually could hear a little bit of a clunking sound, and that is the result of stabilizers that are all just worn out. So we are ready to put the tires back on.